November the 23rd, 1963. A very significant day in Doctor Who's history. Now, a lot of fans watching this will already know why that's an important day in Doctor Who history, as it is the air date of the first ever episode of Doctor Who, and it's also where that first episode takes place. But the significance of that date goes a little deeper when you look deeper into the show and look at all the different canons. With its due connection to Doctor Who and its very ethos, a lot of writers for comics, audios and books have decided to use it as a base for a number of events that happen throughout the Doctor's life. Right, so to begin with, I might as well start with the most prevalent and relevant events that happened on November 23rd, 1963. So to begin with, we have the events of Unearthly Child Part 1, which is of course where the Doctor's story begins for us. The Doctor lands in Totter's Yard and is discovered by his granddaughter's school teachers. It has subsequently been revealed that the Doctor was there initially to have a look at an insect called a Hayshrax insect. Now obviously that has a lot of significance in Doctor Who's history and fans' history, and it turns out there's a lot of significance to it in the Doctor's life, because when we get to the late 80s and the Doctor visits 1963 again in remembrance of the Daleks, we find out his true intentions that day. As we find out, the Doctor had left a device there called the Hand of Omega, something that is used to create stars into supernovas. Now, a common misconception is Remembrance of the Daleks takes place on November 23rd, 1963. It does not. It takes place about a week later, somewhere between the 29th and the 30th of November in 1963. Now, this brings me to a recent addition to this particular part of the canon in a audio adventure released by Big Finish called the Shoreditch Intervention. It's part of the Susan's War box set, and it's really good. I've actually listened to this one for once. It adds to this particular part of the canon as the 8th Doctor actually goes to this rough time period to check on the Hand of Omega as well, whilst the Daleks are after Susan. It's also meant to be one of the first times that Susan and the Doctor have met since her departure. It's quite a good story. I would go and listen to it. Now, those are the only real in-TV references to the November 23rd, 1963. Some of the other references, though, are in books and audios, etc. So starting with the expanded stuff, I will talk about a short story that was released as a collection of short stories, and it was called Those Left Behind. In this story, we find out why the first Doctor went there in the first place, as he was looking for a creature called the Hayshrax insect. This short story is also kind of important as we meet Debbie, one of Susan's best friends at the time. It's revealed to us that she has met the first Doctor at least once, and that she now knows what happened to Susan because the Doctor tells her. It's kind of a nice little moment, and good for continuity purposes. I mean, people were going to notice that a pair of school teachers, and a kid had gone missing, you know? Now, not too far from Totter's Yard, somewhere else in London, in 1963 on November 23rd, there was a stabbing. And somewhere very close to that, a baby was born called John Fitzgerald Kennedy, named after the president, of course. Really weird audio adventure this was from. This is from an audio short called 1963. In audio form, another story where the November 23rd, 1963 is prevalent is, of course, Light at the End, the 50th anniversary special. Now, in that story, a huge selection of companions and doctors all visit this house in Tottenham, Hampshire, which is where, obviously, Totter Lane is. They visit a man called Bob Dovey, and the whole story revolves around this. In the 11th Doctor novel, The Shroud of Sorrow, he visits America on this exact date and faces a creature called the Shroud. Pretty inconsequential to everything else we've talked about, but it is also worth noting because it does take place on the same day. Now, the last thing I could find was the K9 TV show from the early 2010s. In the episode The Cambridge Spy, we see that one of the characters, Georgie Turner, is sent from 2050 to 1963. Now, from what I can gather and look up about the episode, this actually doesn't have any significance on, obviously, Tassa's Yard, etc. Now, this might not be the case because I have no way of watching this show. I don't know anything about the episode, and it's the only bit of Doctor Who lore where I really didn't bother to watch it, and that's a bit sad, to be honest. But yes, this is all I could find about November the 23rd, 1963. I thought it would make quite a nice video, considering this is the day of the anniversary. There'll probably be more content out on this day about just the history of Doctor Who. I hope you're all enjoying, and see you all very soon.